Hi, everybody. Dhaman Mehta here, and thank you for once again joining me on my journey as I go through my favorites list on fanfiction.net. This is actually a bit of a milestone because it's now been 5 years since I started this journey. I would have had kind of wanted to have a video on the anniversary or like older, but yeah, I didn't have enough stories right at the time, so I didn't want to make a video with just like one story or something. So it's 2 weeks late, but hey, 5 year anniversary, and at the rate this is going, it's probably gonna be past 6 before I finish. Hopefully not, but we'll see. But let's dive in, starting with Less Than Zero by Kenichi618. So this is a DC universe fanfic, which is not something I normally read. Never. So it's weird. Like I know as a kid, I watched like the Batman show, Batman the animated series, and like the Batman later on, and I remember like the Justice League and superhero and Superman shows. But like that's really it. I was never into the comics like as a comic guy in general. I never really read any comics. And then what really seemed to turn around was like in movie wise, like the Marvel movies started coming and I really enjoyed them. And then I think like when Marvel Ultimate Alliance came out, like that really made me like I got into Marvel a lot more and the heroes of Marvel a lot more than DC. So I don't know much. I'm not like familiar with DC lore and a lot of the things just aside from knowing people because now I've done so much, right? So this was interesting for me going back. I did remember this fic before I started rereading it. This is OC fic where like original character becomes a villain in Gotham. So hell of a thing. And I really enjoyed this. Like it's really good. I feel the main character Null is a fun guy who's like starts out like completely out of his depth, small time, like just crook trying to make it, and it's interesting to see him, suffer from success and like accidental his way up into being the hero of an arc of like a multiverse story of a DC like super story in a sense. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it. The story also branches out of Gotham pretty quickly, so it's not just Batman and his ilk that we're dealing with. We deal with the whole of DC. The villains are interesting, especially because like the main character is a villain, so he actually ends up interacting with a lot of villains that are either small time or small and in a different way than the normal hero, dynamic. The character drama is good. The banter is really entertaining. I just really, really like this fic, and it gets super many bonus points because it's complete, which is awesome. It's gonna stay on my list. Number 2 is The Mad Scientist of Azkaban by Racke. This is a bunch of grade A crack with a Harry Potter who really didn't take the pressure of being the chosen one well after canon, and then do something, gets sent to an alternate reality for a bit, and terrorizes everyone as a mad scientist. Like, this is just great. Like, it's like I said, it's great crack, great humor. Like, I enjoy a lot. It's really it turns like the crazy notch to 11. Like that's the whole point of this. Not in the completely so random, but it's just like it's pointed randomness in a sense. I just was smiling the entire time I was rereading this. It's not exactly an extended plot because it doesn't last very long. It's a shorter story, but it's a short dive to it's a nice dive into insanity that gets wrapped up nicely, and it's just some mindless, really entertaining fun. I enjoyed it a lot. It's gonna stay on my list. Number 3 is Security by Ack1308. This is a worm self-insert fic by one of my favorite worm authors, as I've said before. I read a lot of Ack. This is also, again, one of the earliest worm fics I actually read. And yeah, it's a fic. I like it a lot. I know it's not perfect. Certain things go our SI's way for the way too easily. This is a, but it was entertaining for me. I'm a sucker who likes, the characters, they like having things work out for them. So fix naturally appeal to me, and you know overall it's great. The SI is interesting in the sense that, like, unlike all the other, especially the popular, like, Worms, like, choose your own powers in SI kind of thing. This is an SI where he's just schlubby older guy who just got put in, no powers, just his knowledge of the books, of the story, and that's it. And just let's go. There's good bits of action, especially at the end, and the character drama works as he, like, tries to save his favorite characters, even though that's not the especially anybody who like reads Worm or likes Worm a lot. Most of the time, their favorite characters are, like, certain villains or stuff. So it's interesting. I really enjoyed it. Highly recommended. It's gonna stay on my list. Next is New Game Plus by Duncan Idaho 2014. This is a One Piece time travel fic that doesn't get very far. It ends just as they reach. It ends up, like, putting them back to the very start where Luffy leaves the island, start of canon, and it gets to Cactus Island. There's a bit of a twist to the standard setup of time travel where it's actually the whole crew that gets sent back, but they get sent back just their minds to, like, their bodies, in the past, so they're all split up again. So what's interesting with that is they don't know anyone else was sent back, so they all trained as if they were the only ones. And so, yeah, the conceit would have been, like, going forward, well, these guys trained to be way stronger than they were in canon, so that the shit that happened won't happen again. And that would be cool, like, going forward. And also, like, because of that, Luffy's got a new plan going forward to build up his crew and all that stuff. Like, obviously far reaching would have been so great to see. But here, basically, what we're left with is, like, because they're all there, it's basically like a couple short, curb stomps as, the vastly overpowered characters just easily handled stuff they normally easily could handle. And there's a bit of jokes and banter going on, but overall, it doesn't feel substantial, and the jokes and stuff, the things don't feel, like, weighty enough for me to, like, want to come back to this and, like, enjoy it again and again. It's just not enough is the problem. Like, the premise and the idea, like, the idea of it and how it was going forward, I think is so great, and if it had continued, I think it would have been really, really fun. But just what's here, how far it goes, it's just not enough for me to revisit, so it's gonna fall off my list. Next is The Emerald Blade by Saint Infernal Neos. This is a spin-off of In Flight, the very famous, like, Shiro Fate Stay Night Sekirei crossover, where in this spin-off, in the middle of the whole thing, a Green Lantern ring just shows up and gives itself to Shiro, and he gets his powers. Like, that's interesting. I liked In Flight a lot. It was on my list. I've kept it on my list as far as I remember. And so this was fun. The fic dials up into the style of absurdity pretty quick for, like, everything. Like, basically the secondary plot and everything just gets side slided into this new plot, because it's not just the green ring. Like, the whole spectrum ends up coming up, and that's all interesting. And it's like, and the story itself basically turns into the final part of a Marvel movie. Like, it's divided into, like, an arc and a half of story wise, but, like, that the first arc is essentially just, like, if you took the first Avengers movie, that last hour, which is just the Battle of New York, it effectively it works like that. It takes over a couple, like, a bit of time, and there are slight breaks in the action, but it's almost not. It's like basically fight with bits of character, like, drama spoken at each other to, like, do something. No, like, extended scenes of, like, this is gonna be here. It's like fight, action. But I enjoyed it, like, especially, like, the fact that the arc goes out. I had a lot of fun. I smiled the whole time. I feel like if you enjoyed In Flight and want even bigger harem ending, you'll have fun here. It's gonna stay on my list. Next is Oh Hell No by Monbade. This is a Harry Potter fic where at the tournament where Harry's name gets called out of the Goblet of Fire, Hay says, "Oh hell no," title drop, and decides to get the hell out of there. He tries to go, finds out that evil cliche plotting Dumbledore is like blocking all his exits, so he hides in the room of requirement for a bit, and then with Dobby and Winky's help and a magic mirror that can just let him see whatever the fuck he wants, stays with the classes and learns a bit before finally just getting out and finding a relative of his in Alaska, leaving with Hermione eventually following him and joining him for a bit. And then, once further time goes on, they attack his school to get him back, new school and stuff. This is all just kind of meh. Like, I just found my eyes glazing over and sliding past the words as it went on. I just don't have much to say about it. Like, it just didn't click with me, and I'm sure there's better fics about Harry fucking off to a new school. I just didn't find myself interested. It's gonna fall off my list. It's also not complete, by the way, just point that out, so lose points for that too. The final story for this video is The Cupboard Series 1, The Cupboard Under the Stairs by Stargon 1. This is another Harry Potter fic. This is basically a retelling of the first book, where this Harry is actually a bit more impacted by, the abuse he faced at the Dursleys, and so is a little more shy, withdrawn, and has some issues with how he does his schoolwork in a bit that gets addressed, which is also because of how he meets his new characters, because he's super terrified at the King's Cross, he doesn't meet the Weasleys. Instead, he meets Hermione, becomes more of a friend with her and Neville, and is overall like quieter and less involved, so less things happen. Like, there's no midnight duel with Draco, the third floor corridor basically just gets completely skipped and stuff like that. So like, there are slight changes, but overall it's not that much. But again, this is just the first book, right? It's just interesting. I find it serviceable. I think it's a fine slight alternate take, though it misses a lot of the explanation, like oh my god, I'm blanking on the word. Exposition. There we go. It misses on like introductions or like explanations for who it is. So if you don't know Harry Potter, you might get a little lost because some things get like I said, intros and people, and there's the bridge scenes get skipped. But overall, like, this story by itself as a book, I think it's fine as an alternate take, and like maybe going forward it's better. This author did write out the whole 7 books in this series, so maybe that's there. But I can't really have an opinion, not just because I haven't read them yet, but I also don't remember them, because I looked into this because I was wondering, like, how, as I've had with many others, where it's like, okay, I did this. Usually I put all the series on my list, whether I've read them or not, or if there's one. So I went in and looked, and it turns out I had never read anything past. I had read the second book, the first sequel of this, the second one, and that is in my C2 community, whatever, for fanfiction.net. But the other 5 aren't even in there, and the second book wasn't even on my favorites list. So this was the only one that I'd put on my favorites list, which to me like implies that, okay, I read this, liked it enough, put it on my list, started reading the second one and got bored and stopped reading it, and so didn't even know the other ones came out. So that's indicative, and like this, I just wasn't interested, and I don't think it's worth a reread. Like, I wouldn't come back to this again, so it's gonna fall off my list. But maybe if you enjoyed this little slight change and wanted to see this progress more, maybe it gets better. Maybe with more time going on, the deviations get better. So to give it a look, and like if you like this, maybe continue the series and go through it, because you'll have the whole series to go through. But it's not gonna stay on my favorites list. So there we go, another video. So thank you so much for 5 years of this, and I'm gonna keep going. Fanfiction status time. I've now read 1,049 stories, and 489 of them have stayed on my list. So thank you so much for all this time. If you've been watching forever or you just started, thank you again just for giving a look. Subscribe if you want to keep up to date when I put these out, because like I said, it's not consistent. So please like the video if you like this or stuff. And as always, links to the stories are in the description, so give them a look. And I will see you in the next video. Take care.